Hi guys, I'm Gail.
I'm Russell. How are you?
Welcome to another episode of our podcast.
Oh, and that was that. Nobody's talking.
That's it. That's all.
So
Thanks for
today
coming.
we're going to touch on a couple of subjects that are to do with connection. So the cornerstone of the relationship entity that is connection. We want to go through some things that are to do with that, specifically rituals and how they can change and affect your relationship, why they're important, why you need them, and a couple of rituals that you can put in that will make a difference.
Relationship rituals are a key component of the connection part of the cornerstones because they really do bring back those moments where you fall back in love. So often and so easily we get hurt, upset, angry, pissed off, resentful, agitated, fill in the blank inside of our relationships, and we never actually take the time to either come back together or to put in place relationship rituals which are wholly solely about creating connection and falling back in love with your partner and allowing the other stuff to kind of like flow away. That doesn't mean you're not dealing with it. It just means you're taking those times to come back together and really connect, and not just like connect like, oh yeah, we just had sex, great, we're back together, woo, which is awesome, but like you're never really actually together. It's about really deepening that sacred love and that sacred connection with your partner. It's that deepening of that connectivity.
The distinctions, one of the things we do is we're always making distinctions in life. Well, we make distinctions in our courses. Distinctions are what give clarity, awareness, create insight, and create breakthroughs. If you can't distinguish something, you can't change it. And you need distinctions and contrast to be able to make changes. So one of the things that I'm continually doing is making this distinction that, I do a lot of research into relationships, and I watch other people doing, the competition, if you like, doing what they do, and I listen to them talk about some of the things, and a lot of the things that everyone talks about, therapy, all these things, they're the same throughout the industry, if you like. So I want to make the distinction that, because often I see this, it's not just about the instructions, what we talk about, what we say to do.
Or
It's
just doing the do.
Or just
doing it for the sake of doing it.
It's about understanding the point of what we're doing. So in this case, the point is connection. So you can't lose track of connection when you do what we're going to say, perhaps some of the things you should do. The first thing that we have to do before we get on the podcast is connect. Because if we're not connected, you're not going to get that. So we can talk till we're blue in the face about saying to you, do this, do that, this is the way to do it. But honestly, the evidence, the benefit is in the connection that we're creating.
And taking the time to do it, right? It's not just hoping for the best and then realizing like, shit, our relationship is completely fallen apart or died because we haven't taken the time to actually work with it and put the goodness in and water it. Like in the same way that when you plant a seed in the garden,
it's nurturing.
You have to love that plant. You have to send it good positive energy. You have to give it sunlight and water and all of the good things and nutrients. If you don't do that same thing inside your relationship is slowly dying. And I know some of you will be thinking right now, well, my relationship's not dying, but I promise you, if you're not putting intentional goodness into your relationship, it is. And the shock reality comes when things like you wake up one day and your partner's left, or all of a sudden you have this feeling like you're living what we would call the invisible divorce, or you're living in the same house, but you might as well be housemates, or he's living his life, she's living hers, and you're just raising kids together. There is no relationship. You may be acting as if there's a relationship, but it's not actually there. And we see this all the time.
So you see people like, people that are just in relationship, most of them survive and keep it healthy till they get to marriage. But there's even all the way through that, the relationship's slowly dying, because what's happening is we have this thing called, we talk about the essence and the ego. So inside all of us, there's an essence. Inside all of us, there's an ego. There's a true self, if you like, and then there's an ego protective mechanism. The ego is I call it the emotional guardian overlord. And what that's designed to do is that's designed to protect you against emotional pain. So what happens when you're in a relationship is your partner inadvertently becomes a source of emotional pain. So whether you're aware of it or not, now I'm highly tuned to pick it up so I can talk about it, but whether you're aware of it or not, those little things that are happening that are simple things, you know, like even I was saying to Gal last week when we were making the podcast, when she starts talking about something, to me, it reminds me of something to say, but then she keeps talking and it seems to go for a while and I forget what I was going to say. So I said I needed like a little notepad down here to keep a note of, okay, what was I going to say, which I've forgotten today, but I am going to do it so I can make a little note, because after she talks, I'm trying to remember what I was going to say, then I forget about it. But those little differences in personality.
Which just to point out as well, why you forget about it too, is because he's present to what I'm saying. He's not fixated on the next thing he needs to say, or that his thing is more important than what I might be sharing right there in that moment. And that's an important thing to recognize in your day-to-day communication and relationship, because oftentimes people are like, just waiting to talk. I just want to say the thing.
She gives me a little too much credit there, to be honest with you. I'm actually left in no man's land. I'm trying to pay attention to what she's saying and I'm trying to remember what I said, and I end up not doing either, is the truth of that, actually. But thanks, mate. That's really lovely. But what I'm saying there is always I want to highlight the differences in personalities, and because of that, that becomes a little annoyance to the ego. And so this is why people, we say that relationships are either growing or they're slowly dying. From the moment you're married or in a committed relationship, that's when you have to start working on your relationship. Because at that point, the ego, not your essence, if you come back to essence like we're always talking about, there'll always be love. But the ego is always protecting you emotionally at a subconscious level, which is why what we're going to talk about today is rituals in terms of connection.
And why they're important.
But I want to highlight a point of difference, which is you're already doing rituals. They're just subconscious. You don't know you're doing them, and they're designed to have you fall out of love. And that's the key. That's a real key distinction to make here.
So when the intent of a ritual is to bring you back into connection, which is obviously why we're in the connection cornerstone today, versus the rituals that you're doing right now inside your relationship are creating a disconnect or a disharmony.
And I think scientifically it's been proven that the negative to positive ratio, you need 5 positives to outweigh 1 negative. But I believe working with people, it's more than that. I think it's more like 10 to 1.
So we place a lot of weight on what's going on negatively versus like harnessing and growing the good stuff that's happening.
And I'm going to use a really simple, basic example that has no real effect that you might consciously know about. But let's just take setting up for the podcast, okay? So Gal and I getting the camera right, getting the mics right, and learning our way through it, right? Which is fun in itself.
It's a whole adventure.
But equally, you know, you're trying to do your own thing. So there's a bit of tension, if you like. There can be a bit of tension. Gal's doing her part of it. I'm doing my part of it. It makes sense that we're going to cross in a way that, I wouldn't say upsets, but what would you say, like, niggles.
Like each person's focused on their part of the setting up, if you like, of the podcast.
Yeah.
And the attention is not on the relationship. And then there's like these little like little digs, like little.
So yeah, so like she stood up. She was doing something with one of the cameras. She stood up, and then she just stood there, and I'm like, okay, well, you just stood there. You didn't move out of the way. And she looked at me like and said, well, you could have said, excuse me. Okay, there's a ritual right there. It's an undisclosed, unannounced, uncommunicated ritual. And that is that I'm ritually being right about what I think she should be doing. And she's ritually reacting to what I said, right? Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
Yeah, and you wouldn't call that a ritual because it's just part of day to day. But from the moment you're together, you're doing those little things that at first you shrug off and they make no difference. And then after 6 months, they become deeper ingrained.
Yeah.
They start to really annoy you. After a year, they're driving you crazy. By the time you're in a committed relationship and married, you're already starting to be upset by those actions, right? By
Yeah,
those, by your partner's actions.
And those moments are easy to let go, but when you compound them, they like in that
Yeah,
moment, that's an
compound.
easy thing to let go of, right? Like to move past. But compound that over 1, 2, 5, 10, 15, 20 years of being together. That thing is like a solid wall between the two of you, and it just takes like a minute, finite little thing, and it's like bang, right in there.
So when couples do come to us and start working just before they're, you know, in a committed relationship or married, we find that much easier. It's much easier to maintain a healthy relationship than to fix a broken one.
And Russell and I, like the moment we started dating was the moment we went and got relationship mentoring. Why? Because we'd been in past relationships. We had messed up past relationships. We both had shitty patterns that we ran in relationship that didn't work. Some that were awesome and great and that you want to harness and grow, but other ones that clearly didn't work. So it was like, why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you set your relationship up for success the moment you started? And it's interesting as well because like people don't hesitate to get, say, car insurance before they have a car accident.
Yeah.
But yet in their relationship, they wait till their relationship is a train wreck and then go like, oh, we need help, which is awesome. Still get the help then. The moment you realize you need help, get help and support. But it's like, imagine what your relationship could be if you start from that place of loving and learning and putting in and laying the foundation.
So the biggest thing that we come across is in relationships is, you know, like women know about relationships. They're switched on. You'll hear me say that a lot, but they know, they understand it. So they get in this situation where they want more from their man, and they know that. The man's not so much. He does other stuff, but ultimately it's the fulfilling part of it that the man needs the relationship for, the sharing his love with. And often we'll see people and they'll say, you know, look, I've got to choose between spending money on a holiday or doing some relationship work to make my relationship better. And they choose the holiday, and then, you know, after 5 years of doing that, they've got no one to go on holiday with because the relationship fell apart. Because they don't understand, each person doesn't understand where the other person's at.
Yeah.
And they just, it's less painful to, in a relationship that's not immediately ending now, it's easy to sweep it under the carpet, pretend it's not doing anything.
And funny enough, we actually saw that in a movie we were watching last night where he got a chance to rewind, if you like, which obviously doesn't happen in life, right? But the relationship was over. She was at breaking point. She hadn't communicated that to him, but she was like, if he shows up to the thing, then okay, there's hope to move forward. And if he doesn't, I'm out. Now, this is not necessarily a conscious thought, although it may be, but too often it's subconscious. And then the thing happens, he didn't show up, and she's like, I'm all done. I've done all that I can do and I'm exiting. Or he says, I've done all that I can do, and he exits. And that happens more often than you would want.
So again, egotistically, the ego is more committed to, the ego doesn't care about long-term suffering. It cares about avoiding short-term pain. So the choice between, you know, fixing a relationship that has little problems with it but's not ending today, or going on holiday, people choose the holiday.
Yeah.
And it makes no sense, because if you don't nurture the relationship, the connection's not there. So we want to put in things that create the connections.
Yeah, and it does make a lot of sense as well, right? Because even the couples that I'm working with, they're like, oh my gosh, we love who we are on holidays. Our holiday mode version of our relationship is awesome. So of course you're going to be drawn to go on the holiday. But it's like, how do I recreate that holiday mode, that vibe, and
that
like
connection every single day?
The essence of your relationship, who you're each being in the relationship on a regular, ongoing basis. And I can tell you from clients we work with that, like, those that actually go, yeah, this is who we want to be, and bring that back in, and then have the regular check-ins, because by the way, by about month 2 or 3, after you're like, oh yeah, we brought all this good stuff back into our relationship, and then life happens and you forget. right? But having that regular connection into and input into the relationship, and somebody else who's looking at all your blind spots with you, creates a space for more of the relation connectivity and more of the goodness showing up.
We have the same quality of connection every single day that we have when we're on holiday.
Yeah. Because
no
we create
different.
it.
Because we've worked at it, we create it, we know how to do what we're going to talk about today.
Yeah.
Create rituals that work, that counteract the rituals that don't.
Yeah. So why rituals? Well, a ritual is is an intentional moment where you're creating connectivity, so connection, and you're filling your relationship love tank. So in the same way that you might do these things do things to fill yourself up individually, there is a relationship love tank and it needs to get full. And some of the ways you do that is by inputting regular relationship rituals. So date night, for example, which we will talk about, is a relationship ritual, and it's a key one because its intention and its purpose is to put in and fill the love tank. However, there's also so many other ways that you can input on a regular daily basis.
Can I just say something as well about, let's create a podcast ritual, because that would be really good for me. While we're talking, and I've realised this, what we do is we don't go back and watch the podcast. So we say stuff and we say we'll circle back to it, or we'll deal with that in another podcast. If you listen to this podcast and you hear something you want to know more about, please make sure you go on Instagram. What's that handle at Instagram?
Instagram is @it'sinfiniteandco is our Instagram. And DM us there and go like, oh my gosh, I want to know more on that topic.
Because we'll make a list. Because without it, I just realised that as Gail said something, I'm like, well, I want to go down that rabbit hole, but it's not today. and then I think I'll remember it, but I won't. So if you hear anything, please DM us and let us know that, I want to know more about this, make a podcast about this, or go back to this subject so we don't forget.
There will be things that come up for you guys as you're listening and you're like, wow, like I got that, but I really want to jump and dig deeper into that, or I really want to know more about this. And that's what we want. We want this podcast to be live and in real time and to be adding value for you, to be inputting into your relationship and helping you grow together. So yeah, if you do hear things, just DM us on Instagram @it'sinfiniteandco.
Nice. Very cool.
Okay, a little side interlude.
Yeah. Okay, what you said. So relationship rituals. Let's start with date night, because date night's like a big one,
Date night is a big one. It needs to be happening at least once a month.
More if you can. Date lunch is a bonus.
Yeah, and there's other formats, but we're going to talk about date night as date night and what the roles of each person are in the relationship and how to make it happen, and then do's and don'ts.
Right,
that's really important.
So the purpose of date night is not to do date night because it's important ritual. The purpose of date night, again, I want to emphasize, is connection.
Yes, and to fill the love tank. You want to leave date night going like, oh, you know that feeling when you first start dating, you just want to like cuddle under the blankets and you really want to be with your partner. You don't want to leave date night and go, oh, for fuck's sakes, like I really just need some time out from him.
Men and women, but men, date night is not about sex. It's not a precursor. It's great if it is.
It can happen. It's not off the table, but it's not like a guaranteed. You're not like, I'm doing date night, so I get in.
If you do it in order for that, she will know. Women are intuitive. They pick up stuff straight away. If you're doing it for that, she will know. It has to be about filling the cup or recharging the battery, filling each other up, filling the love tank.
Filling the love tank. And so the rules of date night is the man organizes and plans the date night. So now that doesn't mean you can't have input, ladies. It means like you can have a date night list of all the things you guys want to do, different kind of stuff. It can be as simple as, hey babe, I can do this night and this night. You can tell him about your calendar and schedule and which nights would work. But his job is to organize the date night.
It doesn't even mean that sometimes she couldn't organize it. I mean, theoretically, she could occasionally, but once a month, we want to put forward the idea that the man is leading.
Yeah, that he's leading, that he's taking ownership.
Taking ownership.
He's creating this space for him as much as her, and, she doesn't have to decide. So
take the emotional weight off. So the purpose of date night there is for the man to be in a masculine state and lead, which is why we say the man organises it. He sorts out the babysitter, he sorts out the venue, he tells her what time. It's like a proper date.
Yeah,
You know?
it's like if you weren't like, cause if you're married, you're living in the same house, right? If he wasn't here, he would be coming up to the door, knocking on the door, taking you out to the car, opening the car door, all of those kinds of things, right? So all those things have to happen. So he's organizing it.
I often will, I'll often open the car door for Gal anyway and let her
On a
get
date
in.
night.
But no, even at other times I'll open the door for her. So, rolling your eyes
I
at me,
actually-
I do that.
I intentionally, on a date night, I intentionally wait by the door
She waits by the door, and in fact,
until he opens it.
sometimes I've actually arrived at the restaurant only to realise she's not in the passenger seat, and she's still waiting in the driveway because I forgot to open the door for her.
And we do
So try to avoid doing that if you can, guys.
We do teach this to our clients as well. And then we get the giggle message saying, I stood outside the door for about 10 minutes till he realized, he's going like, what the heck, where is she? And then he looks over and realizes I was waiting by the door. So he, like clients have said, we've got in out of the door and then he's actually opened the door for me. But like on a regular daily basis of getting in the car, Russell doesn't need to open the door for me. But on date night, it's date night. I want to be treated like a lady and a queen and like loved up and feeling like I am the most important person in his world. So yes, I want the doors open. I want my chair pulled out. I want the restaurant door held for me. I want him to speak to the hostess, not because I can't or I'm incapable of it, but because it's date night and I want to feel taken care of. And so, gentlemen, your job, organize the date night. Ladies, your job on the evening, no matter whether it's a great date night, a shocking date night, because we've all had, restaurants where you go to and you're like, oh my God, like that was shocking, or like that person was horrible.
I've had some. Can I talk? Will you
No.
always say no? Okay.
You can wait.
Okay.
Your job is to appreciate and acknowledge. So from the get-go, the moment you get in the car, you can go, babe, thanks so much for organizing date night. Like you can start there, even though the date hasn't started, but he's organized it. And the moment he does organize it, even when it's booked in your diary, you can go, wow, thanks so much for booking that date night. Like, I really appreciate it. I'm so excited. Or ladies, if your hair and your makeup and your clothes are not doing it for you, find something that you do feel fabulous in and go out on the date night anyways. And gentlemen, if your woman says to you like, oh, I'm just not feeling it, I'm tired, I just want to stay home and watch a movie, let's just curl up on the couch, that, my friends, is a test. And does he love me enough to say to me, no, babe, let's go out, let's actually take the time and go out on our date night. Like we planned it, let's do it, right? That's a test. So
we do need to talk about testing on another video. That's one of those DM things. I should DM myself.
DM myself. Somebody DM Russell. Testing. That is a test. And how you pass the test is you go, you know what, babe, put it, like, wear anything you want. Like, let's just go out, let's enjoy the evening, right? You make it so she can actually go out. Because, I've had evenings like that. And, that's just the nature of being a woman.
And we've had some shockers where we've been out, and I've actually, led and organised a beautiful restaurant. Then I've got there, and I don't know, something's happened, and I've complained the whole time, and it just went completely sour, and I got in some sort of negative state or whatever, and so then it's fine, Then I just organised another one for a few nights afterwards.
Relationship date night ritual redo.
Yeah,
right?
Because we want to connect, and then on date night you don't talk about the problems, you don't talk about work, you don't talk about and we've got like a list of topics that you can so like prompt you
there
with.
Are no conversations, no negativity, no complaining about what's not working in your relationship, no talking about the kids, no talking about work. And this is an important one, right? Because people want to like decompress their day.
It's all the thing is with these topics, they're all how to connect over.
Yeah, so date night is not that.
We want you to nurture a different connection.
A different conversation, a different way to connect with your partner. Now, some of you might find this difficult, and I even did a mentoring session with a couple on the way to it was a long drive, so we had time, to their date day that they were doing. And just to remind them of all the rules. And I said to them, okay, I'm going to end the call now. And you guys had, I think they had about 20 minutes, half an hour. You guys have 20 minutes, half an hour to get out any work, any kid, any of those conversations so that when you arrive at the date night, you really can be intentional about, you know, talking and filling each other and filling the love tank and creating a space for each other. So if you need to, if you like, you're getting out of the house and all the kids got squared away, all that kind of stuff has happened, and you're like, oh, I just need to tell them about that thing. Use the car ride, however long that is, and that's the only allowance that you have to talk about anything that might need to get out of the space so you can begin your date night the moment you arrive. That is like a just in case. That's not just all the time. So that's a just in case there's something that needs to get cleared out of the space. Use the drive.
Best to clear it before
Best to
that.
clear it
You know,
before that, right?
You don't wait till the drive. You
Exactly.
want to be, date night is about, from the moment that you start getting ready.
Yeah.
It wants to be about that. But you know, if you're going to clear it on the drive, I'd say it's a little bit late, honey.
Yeah, I know, but it's still, you don't want to set their evening up for like total failure. So
No,
if something needs to clear, then
sure.
And be intentional. Say, look, I know it's date night. I know this isn't a topic that's meant to get talked about tonight. I need to clear it to get it out of my space, and then boom, get it out and go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so then once everything about it has to encompass the cornerstones, the masculine and feminine state. The nurturing, the dance, the connection. The you know, even from the point of view of like, Gal's a big foodie, so she's really great at reading the menu and understanding everything on the menu.
Tasting it before it arrives.
And yeah, and she can explain most of what's on the menu to me because I don't understand a lot of even the words of some of the stuff. but you know, still she'll say to me, you know, well, what shall I have? Right? Well, I better know what she likes. I better know what she enjoys, and I better be able to read the menu and understand what things she's possibly going to like. And if she's
toying between two things,
I'll often make a decision for her, and she will either go with that decision or she'll have the other thing.
Yeah, which is
but
just
the
needing
ownership,
the input, right?
Yeah,
I just need the input to then go, oh yeah, no, that's the thing I want, because somebody's decided, oh no, I wanted the other thing.
So again, you know, make that distinction. Okay, these are the instructions. This is what we're telling you. But get the energy, the essence that's underneath what we're talking about. It's the ownership, the certainty, and the being present that she will then enjoy on the date night.
And you know, you may need conversation starters. And if you do, that's okay. Guess what? We have a list of 10 conversation starters that you can actually take to your date night and choose to do them, right? So like one of them that we often do on date nights, not every date night, but we bring in at various different times and we use it for different kind of things, is what is 5 things you love about me today?
Again, men, caution, you know, ass, tits, smiley face, all of those things. They need to be kind of like, you could use one of them, but don't make them be the first 5 things.
Or
right?
Ladies, you have to know. So like I give Russell allowance. I'm like, okay, babe, tell me your 5, right? And I know they're going to be body parts. And then I'm like, okay, now tell me your 5 things that you like aside from, so he can get out that like, oh, I love your boobs, I love your ass. Like, they're like visual people. So they like, you know.
Talk about visual, sexual.
They're sexual beings as well, right? So it's okay that they love those things about you. You want them to love those things about you, by the way. So give them allowance. So if Russell says 3 things out of the 5, then he's got to do 3 extras.
But I know now enough to park it and go, okay, it's not about that. And I know as well that she's so much better at picking out those things that really touch me, that move me. Yeah. And so I know I need to practice that. So maybe one of you's better than the other. Don't judge, don't condemn. It just is. Don't criticize. Just know that you can get better in that area.
Yeah. So it can be as simple as, what's 5 things you love about me? Last year on our wedding anniversary, when we were out to dinner, we did, what are the 5 moments that had the most impact in our relationship? And you know, some of them were the same, right? And then of course, because we've
5 greatest relationship moments, you know, would be
5 greatest relationship moments. What are like 3 things? 3 things you love about me sexually, right? Like, you guys get to talk about these things. You're in an intimate relationship, and literally these conversations can be anything. And it's good to kind of have prompters that you can kind of go like, yeah, like that's what we can talk about on our date night.
But the whole point is you're filling up the space, the energy, the relationship energy.
Yeah.
You're putting in quality experiences, time together, presence,
and connectivity. Like you're really taking that time to look in. You know, intimacy broken down is into me, see, like into my eyes, see down into my heart and who I truly am day in, day out. Not who I might, the persona, and who you might see when I'm stressed or agitated or pissed off or losing my shit. No, not that. Who am I really, really for you? And into me, see, intimacy allows you to look in your partner's eyes and actually look down into their heart and remember who they are for you, who this person is that you fell in love with.
Let's talk a little bit about taking care of your partner as well, because you know, I don't particularly like surprises. Gail likes surprises more, but if you're the man and you're organising it, it's no good. We want to take away stress. We want to take away emotional burdens, problems. So you know, it's fine to say, look, I want this to be a surprise, but be ready at this time.
Oh, yes.
Here's an idea of what you should wear,
yeah,
or what you could wear.
Like you don't want your partner showing up in heels and a beautiful dress if you're taking her on a nature walk,
yeah.
right? Like that's just not gonna work. So, gentlemen, you may have to say this is like a jeans vibe. This is like a dressed up in a dress kind of vibe. And if she asks you, then you can answer that too, right?
Yeah, and so. And it doesn't, you know, maybe when you've got kids, maybe they've got financial issues, you have to be creative. You know, if you've got kids, the man needs to organise the babysitter. It's okay to ask for, you know, support if you want support,
yeah,
but
like
take ownership of it, you know.
Yeah.
And then, what was the other thing I was going to say about that? You can do picnics. You can do. We've done picnics in the house. We've done picnics. We were even in a seminar one day, and I wanted to organise a date lunch. So we laid out a picnic blanket in the middle of at lunchtime in the middle of the seminar hall, and we sat down and we had a date picnic in the centre, didn't we?
Yeah, because like at that point we had babies who were asleep, right? Like the girls were really young at that point, and the babies were asleep, and it was not possible to go out to a restaurant in the middle of a seminar. Now they're a bit older; they don't tend to come to the seminars anymore, so that doesn't have to happen. But don't let money, don't let not being able to get a babysitter, finding somebody to watch your kids, don't let any of those things get in the way of being creative. You still want to be very intentional about
making sure that you do it, you know.
Yeah, how you take care of the relationship.
And keep it consistent, like a ritual, because these, like I say, these other rituals that are counterproductive are going on all the time.
Yeah.
So keep it consistent. Make sure you give her enough information that she's not flustered or worried.
Yeah.
If you don't go to a restaurant that's good, then maybe talk about it after that.
Yeah.
And also, if you're a woman and there are things you want to do, you can put them in and say, look, here's a list of 10 great date nights I would love.
That's actually a great conversation to have if you're stuck on a date night is, what are some of the things we want to do for date nights? Like we want to go dancing, we want to go bowling, we want to go, I don't know, rock wall climbing, we want to go for a walk, we want to go on a picnic, we want to, like, there's hundreds of thousands of things you can do for a date.
From a feminine point of view, a feminine state point of view, avoid taking control. Like avoid saying, okay, I want the Dex Nate night. Next, I want the Dex Nate night to be here or here. Just say, look, here's a list of ones I'd like to do in the near future.
Yeah, let go of. Although it was interesting, funny enough, your sister was recently telling me she's been out dancing with her husband, and it reminded me that was a date night you really wanted to organize for us because I like to dance.
Okay. Cool.
So that's just a little small interlude. I took this moment to input a date night that would be fun.
Nice, which is great, but if one of you doesn't DM me that, I'll forget it, but okay. I need my notepad. Where's my bloody notepad? So, you know, you can talk about it and say, these are what I'd love. These are the restaurants I enjoy, you know. But again, think about the connection. If I'm organising date nights, I'm setting things up, I'm taking the time to know what she likes. In the background, I'm having conversations with her to get a sense of what's going on. I'm taking an interest in the relationship.
Which, given that I am a foodie, Rosala finds it like a lot of pressure to go like, how do I find an awesome restaurant, an awesome relationship, an awesome restaurant? And there have been some epic restaurants that he's found. And like,
Now those epics, again, another topic, but point scoring, those epic nights are what make the man feel really like they've done a good job.
well, and because
It
like, I mean,
builds so much connection.
we went to this one restaurant last year for our wedding anniversary, and it is like a foodgasm heaven for me, like total foodgasm. The food is amazing, and I've spoken and shared that with so many people, and every time I do, Russell's like, yeah, because he found it wasn't even a restaurant I found. He found the restaurant, he booked it, he organized it all. We weren't in town, we were out of town, and so like, and then we went there, and it was like this epic experience, and every single time I share about it, he gets kudos for that. Like, he goes, yeah, I did good, right? So that is like appreciation every single time I share that with somebody, every time I share the experience with somebody, or I talk about it. So even talking about it right now,
Yeah,
he's
it's
getting
points.
points.
I'm remembering it. I'm going, yeah, you did a good job, Russ. Well done.
He's getting points and remembered and acknowledged that was just like, oh my goodness. And even when he's not with me, like, still from an energetic point of view, he's getting acknowledged, because I'm like, oh yeah, Russell took me to da 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 da, and I'll share the experience. And so yeah, so that can happen too.
And then I think you know, you can do additionals. You know, you can do more date nights. You can do date lunches. Date lunches are a bonus.
Yep.
You can.
I had clients the other day told me about they put the kids to bed, and they organized takeaway at home together, so that they could connect and talk. Now that wasn't a date night. That's a ritual. I even said that to them. I said I would call that something else, because it was just intentional time. It's like adult time. The kids are going to bed, and they took that time to spend connecting and sharing. Now, I wouldn't call that ritual a date night. I would call it something else, so that you know that date night is when you actually...
It's specific.
It's specific, and that there are rules, if you like.
Yeah.
Rules of date night of how to make it work. But that, you know, it could be like, you know, connection time in, or like dinner date in. Like, you can call it anything you want.
Yeah, I think there's other types of rituals. We talk about them on another occasion now, right? But the like, because we were going to talk about some other rituals, but we won't have time to do that today.
Yes, we will.
No, we'll talk about that another occasion.
Oh.
Okay, well, you can talk about it. It's just fine.
I think it's important to just recognize that some rituals, and like start bringing in certain rituals and the importance of it. So like another ritual that Russell and I do is like going to Costco.
But she's talking about it. I just love the disagreement. And no, we won't talk about that now, because I've looked at the time. I'm thinking, okay, it's going on a bit long. She's saying, no, we're going to.
We are going to.
And you cannot emphasize enough the lack of conflict that exists there. It's two different people having two
for me
different...
or for you?
For both of us.
Oh, okay.
I'm just going, okay, then we are going to talk about it. Like, and if you can get the essence of that in your relationship, if we've got enough self-actualization, self-growth, those little things don't bother us.
Yeah.
And so there's other rituals where you'll go, oh, bloody hell, now you're forcing me to talk about it. I didn't want to, whatever. But anyway, I just want to diverse, because I really think those things are the things we need to point out.
Yeah, I think that, well, that's the point of the podcast.
Is they're happening live, you know?
The live things that'll happen that you can go like, oh, right, like that would totally take out a couple.
Yeah.
Like...
Because they're saying, no, we
she
have
would
to
go like,
you know,
no, this is not happening. She would go, yes, it is. And then what you've got is two people trying to be right and hanging on to their post and their opinions, and neither one is connecting.
So it's the underlying distinction there is it's not about what we talk about so much. I mean, that's important, but it's what those things allow you to be, who they allow you to be at the foundation of your relationship.
Yeah.
Which is, you know, if you're making connection, it's about positive connection. And because we don't put negative connection in there, then it builds and grows to the next layer of positive connection. Yeah. Sorry, you were saying about Costco there. So
Costco was a ritual that we love to do. We love to do it together. I mean, can we go on our own? Yep, totally we can, but it's something we've always liked to do together.
This is more about, as well, this comes from being in Australia more than being in Canada, to be honest with you.
Yeah, because when we were living in Australia, for me, Costco was like, I could go to Costco, and for that hour when I was in there, I actually felt like I was back in Canada.
It feels the same. If you're in Costco in Canada and Costco
doesn't matter
in
what
Australia,
country.
it's the same.
Yeah, whatever country you're in Costco, you feel like you're in Costco, which, because I grew up in Canada, that's it. Just there was that connectivity to that.
Yeah, and then you couldn't get, what's that stuff called, Baby Ray's?
Baby Ray's.
You couldn't get Baby Ray's barbecue sauce anywhere other than Canada or occasionally Costco's in Australia.
Yeah, which is very cool. Arizona was super stoked about that. But like other relationship rituals that we do is like going to the gym, and I call this a two for one, meaning there's the relationship ritual, which is the going to the gym together. And then also why it's a 2 for 1 is because it's also an individual, like, so for me, the gym is an emotional regulator. For Russell, the gym is I don't know, what do you get when you go to the gym?
Don't know.
Like for me, it emotionally regulates me. I feel good about myself. Like it's me taking care of myself. What's the individual thing you get for you?
I don't know. I have to think about it.
Oh goodness, that could be a whole other hour while we wait for that. But each person gets something from going to the gym different to what the relationship gets. We get the connection of the relationship because we may not be doing the same exercises or in the same part of the gym, but you always kind of like check and see where your partner is.
And have a look, guys, what you can give up when you're in your relationship to create a connection and a ritual. Because you know, just Gail's talking about it, I came out of the gym the other day and I was exhausted. I think I over pushed myself. And Gail's like, Zayas is next. Zayas is like a grocery store. Tesco's if you're in England, Coles if you're in, well, more like Waitrose in England, to be honest with you, and a little bit of an upmarket Coles in Australia. But anyway, I get carried away here. So the supermarkets all fascinate me. But anyway, so Zayas is next door, and Gail wants to go into Zayas, and I'm like, okay, I'll go sit in the car because I really wanted to sit in the car. But even that for her is a little ritual. She likes to come out and complete it with a walk around Zayas, see if anything's on sale, see if there's anything we can get to lunch to connect with. See, there's just heaps of little connectivity stuff in there that took me 5 extra minutes to do to walk around Zayas rather than go and sit in the car. So always keeping your focus and attention on, you know, the gym and Zayas is a ritual for Gail.
Yeah.
And the gym is a ritual for me. Yeah. And then if I can participate in the ritual of Zayas with Gail, which I'm often happy to do as well.
Yeah.
But sometimes you know, like the other day I was tired anyway.
Yeah. So there are things that you are currently doing in your relationship that would be considered a ritual. And I think it's important to start to notice and write them down or bring them to your...
Build them up
and bring them to your conscious awareness. So you're not just doing them on autopilot. You're actually like, yeah, this is a relationship ritual. And if you do have kids, there will be things that you do that are family rituals. Now, those are different. Family rituals are different to relationship rituals. And you need to make sure that you have relationship rituals that aren't family rituals and vice versa.
Here's a family ritual that you should employ straight away if you don't do this. Sit down at the dinner table with you, your partner, your kids, and eat dinner at least once a week. At least once a week, everyone sits down at the dinner table.
Yeah.
That ritual makes a massive difference.
And then something our kids implemented into family dinner night as well is they do highlight, low light, smile light.
Yeah.
And it's, you go around the table and the first person goes and then that person points to the next person and they then share their highlight, low light, and smile light for the day. Now you have to have one of each. Even if your low light is the best, like the worst story of the highlights of the day, you have to have one of each.
It's important because otherwise you're promoting that everything should be positive all the time.
Yeah.
And it's not like that.
And there's no space for
anything that might else. Feel slightly negative. So that'll be the one that people get stuck on most, is the low light. But it's important just to acknowledge it as a normal part of life, just like any other part of life.
And the important thing with that ritual as well is you're not then soothing or making it okay for your kid or for your partner. You're actually just listening and letting them share. So there's no input or fixing or helping or supporting. You're just like, wow, cool, thanks for sharing. Like it's just an opportunity for them to get to share and for you to get to share your highlights, lowlights, and smile lights. And it gives you insight and connection into your partner and into your family in that moment. So like that's a family ritual. So those are important as well. And so you may actually start to notice as you start listing out some rituals that you're currently doing is bringing conscious awareness and bringing your attention to the things that you're already doing, but then actually bringing the connection, this cornerstone, into each of the rituals. So you are going like, are we connected or are we feeling disconnected?
And then just diversifying a little bit from that, you know, if you remember back when you were a kid, kids love rituals. That's
what they
what you
remember.
remember from your childhood. Things you used to do on a regular basis with your parents.
Yeah.
So it's a slightly different topic, but it's important to understand that kids love rituals.
Well, and it's interesting how they get passed on, for example. So something
Yeah.
that like I used to do as a child with my sisters, well, as we were older, we used to have pizza on Christmas Eve. And then when Russell and I got together, we have a big blended family, I brought in to play pizza in the park, because in Australia it's summertime and hot, so we'd have pizza in the park on Christmas Eve. And then when we were in Canada, we've brought in that, like, because obviously it's winter, you don't want to have pizza in the park. When the kids were all here, we had pizza on Christmas Eve. And again, it was a time where we all connected together. And if you ask the kids, or you're speaking to them, if you ask them about pizza in the park, they will know that was a time where we hung out and we'd share. We also recapped our year, because it's, Christmas and it's towards the end of the year. Like, what were your highlight, low light, small lights, your best moments of that year? And, what would you change? And so it was a really great time to kind of come together and reflect. And that's like a carry on from like my adult childhood, and then carried that on into like my own family. So yeah, you could see how the flow on, and the remembering of rituals is what creates connectivity.
We have loads of different ones we've done over the years
Yeah.
for different things, but just get back to the relationship side of it.
Oh, so coffee, going for coffee is a relationship ritual for us.
Yeah.
That doesn't have to be it can be like 15-20 minutes, half an hour. It doesn't have to be a long date, right? But we love going and having a coffee, just sitting and taking a moment to just pause. But then also notice you can also go and have coffee and totally disconnect, right?
Yeah.
Bringing the attention on that the ritual is to create connection is like, okay, well, hang on a second, let's put our phones down. Let's not do whatever it is we were going to do. Let's actually enjoy our coffee. Let's take time to connect.
Talk about something.
Or not talk. It's okay actually to sit in silence and just be with your partner. Not with phones, by the way. Without phones, and actually just connect and not feel like you have to, talk or share. So rituals are an important part of your relationship and creating the connection.
And then we're going to talk about that, the other part of that now we were talking about before, about the connection.
I think we could introduce it, and then we could start that off for the next podcast.
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
So on our next podcast, what we're going to introduce to you guys is a relationship ritual that will take 2 minutes each day, if you like, inside your relationship. So stay tuned for the next episode. Are you going to introduce it, or are you going to wait till next episode?
No, I'm going to wait till next episode, because I can't remember what it's called.
Oh, okay. I love it. We will introduce that into our next podcast as to a new ritual that you can put into your relationship that will take 2 minutes a day, and it will build a beautiful thing, and we'll talk about all the things.
Just builds connection.
Builds connection.
Builds intimacy, builds presence. And that's what all you're looking for from this is, date night is an important part of that.
Yep.
Where can you keep building presence, connection, intimacy that counteracts the subconscious negative rituals that are going on anyway, that you don't even have awareness of?
Yep.
Cool.
Perfect. See you guys in the next episode.